guys, and welcome back to today's video. Today is really exciting because we're going to be talking all about read alouds. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of our favorite and least favorite read alouds that we have done this year in the 2019-2020 school year. So let's get started. Hi, my name is Katie and welcome to Life in the Mundane. I am a second generation homeschool mom of 6 beautiful kiddos, and on this channel we talk all things resources. I love to share with you resources that are going to help you in your homeschooling and help encourage you in your biblical parenting, and how you can utilize those to their fullest potential so that you can make the most of the little moments. This video is actually a collab done by myself as well as a bunch of my other amazing homeschool YouTube mama friends. So you're definitely going to want to check out the playlist link down below when you're done with this video so you can see all of their recommendations. This is actually how I create a lot of my read aloud lists for the following year, is by seeing what other moms love to read and don't like to read and finding out why. Because sometimes the why behind someone's like or dislike might help you determine if it would be best for you. If you guys want more tips and tricks on how to do read alouds with your children, maybe you're new to doing read alouds together and are just not really sure where to start, I've done a video and I'll put that link up in the iCards and down in the description below. So let's jump into my favorite read alouds from this year. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor was definitely a big favorite of ours this year, both my kids and mine. This one is an amazing book. It takes place after slavery has been abolished, but while there is still a lot of tension in the world. It follows the Logan family and seeing how an African-American family who owns their own farm is treated, or rather mistreated, in the world. It is definitely a gripping story, and there is some heavy content in it, but it was so good and led to so many good discussions with my kids that I can't recommend it enough. The next one is a bit lighter, and that is The One and Only Ivan and The One and Only Bob. Both of these books we read. The One and Only Ivan is the first one, The One and Only Bob is the second one, and we actually listened to that one on audio, which I highly recommend because the narrator for that one is amazing and made it even more fun. But this one follows Ivan, a gorilla who is stuck inside of a mall zoo, and how he is kind of mistreated and makes his way to the wild where he's always wanted to be. And while my kids did watch the Disney version of this movie, they actually loved the book even more. Over the time during COVID, my mom actually took the opportunity to use Marco Polo, which is a free app that you can download, and she used that to read different books to my kids. And it was such a sweet and amazing time. So she would make a Marco Polo group, label it the name of the book that she was reading, like Homer Price, and then each day she would come in and just read one chapter and record herself reading one chapter, and all the grandkids were added to it, and so they could watch or rewatch grandmom reading it over and over again as many times as they wanted. And they really loved it when she read Homer Price and the Henry Huggins books. So that was such a fun and special treat to have somebody else included in that. You could do this even by having a special person in your life record it on their phone and upload it to like a Google Drive. So that's just a fun idea of a way to mix it up when it comes to read alouds. It doesn't always have to be mom reading. We also enjoyed listening to the rest of the Henry Huggins books beyond what she was able to read on Audible, and that was a really fun treat. But probably our favorite read aloud, both for me and for my kids, was the Wild Robot books and the sequel, The Wild Robot Escapes. This book I cannot recommend enough. If you have boys or kids who are reluctant to listen to read alouds, for sure, make sure you dive into these books. They're short, easy to read chapters, and you will find that your kids will not let you put it down. I am not kidding you when I say that we read this book in 1 week. It's not a particularly thin book, and this one in the next week, because they were so into this book. They were begging for it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, they wanted it all the time, and they literally shed tears when we finished the second book because there's not a third one. So this is a book I cannot recommend enough. It sounds simple. It's about a wild robot who lands himself on an island and learns how to survive in the wilderness. But there are so many more twists and turns that come from that, and I don't want to ruin anything. But I do want to tell you that one of the reasons why I love this book so much, and it's so important to me, is because it is a beautiful picture of adoption. And I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense without revealing a lot more information about the book, but we are in the process of going through adoption and seeking to adopt from foster care. And there were some really amazing moments and discussions that we were able to have because of this book, centered around what makes a family and caring for someone else and some of the ups and downs of adoption. And like I said, I don't want to ruin anything for you. I just want to encourage you, no matter what, go out and get this book. This story was so good that we actually ended up getting it on audiobook because my kids wanted to re-listen to it the second we were done with it. And they've listened to it several times since then. Now let's move into the books that I didn't like as much. Now the first one is not one that I hated by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just not one that clicked as much for me personally. My kids loved it, and it was Pippi Longstocking. If you're not familiar with this classic, it's about a girl whose parents are gone. She is essentially orphaned and living in a house all by herself. Well, not all by herself. She lives with her horse and her pet monkey, and they have all sorts of wild, crazy adventures, and she essentially gets to make up her own rules and do her own thing. Now, of course, my kids enjoyed it. There was lots of fun and playful parts of it. She interacts with some other kids in the story. It was, again, really good, talking about adoption and how it can seem really cool to, have no rules and have total freedom, but how much she misses her parents and how much she doesn't have that guidance to help her. So that was a really good conversation. But one thing that Pippi does a lot of in this book is lie or stretch the truth. Now, I don't mind things like that being in the story because they just make great jumping off points for discussion. It's not that every book we read has to be perfect and has nothing in it whatsoever that's objectionable. I actually enjoy things that spur discussion, but because I have some kids with special needs, they struggled sometimes picking up on the different times when she was lying or when she was fibbing, which I guess was good because we got the opportunity to talk about it and to figure out how can you tell the difference between a truth and a lie. So overall, it was good in discussion and the kids loved it, but it just wasn't my personal favorite. The next one that also fits in that category is the Tale of Desperados. So we just finished this one like today, and while we enjoyed it and the kids were really into it, and I will say one of the great things about this book is that it has amazing vocabulary in it. Like if you want to introduce your children to really rich vocabulary and new words they've never heard of, then this is definitely a book you're going to want to read. It's not one I would necessarily not recommend. It's just, it was a little dark, honestly. Again, let Roll of Thunder Hear My Cry. It's a heavy story because there's a lot of truth to what happened in that story. But this was just a little bit different. It's about a mouse who is going to save a princess, and there's another girl in there who has gone through some abuse, and they're fairly descriptive with some of it, I felt like. It was a little scary for some of my littles, but the story in itself is pretty cute. Just nothing like uber special to me. But like I said, the vocabulary was fantastic. It was one we finished. We didn't stop halfway through or anything like that, but I don't know that it's one I would necessarily read again, but my kids did enjoy it. The final one on our list is Wonder. Now guys, this one I truly wanted to love, and I truly disliked most of it. And that was so hard for me because I have watched the movie Wonder and I loved it and I cried. As a mom of kids with special needs, it hits really close to home. It's about a little boy named Augie who has special needs, right? He has a facial deformity, and everybody stops and stares at him and treats him differently. And you get to experience from his perspective as well as from his sister's perspective, his parents' perspective, his friend's perspective. So that was neat in the book, getting to see the same different scenarios, but seeing it through the eyes of different people. It really brought to light how bullying is very prevalent and some of the really horrible things that kids can say to one another. And that part was not even the most uncomfortable part to me, okay? Because that's reality in some cases, and it was good to talk about. I really appreciated the perspective of Violet, his older sister, who shared about her struggles, how she was super protective of her younger brother, Augie, but at the same time, sometimes resented being put off to the side because he was more important in the moment. And having kids who have struggled, especially with medical special needs and surgeries, I understand that dynamic of how you can both love and want to protect that younger sibling, but also struggle with those emotions of feeling like you just kind of wish life was normal. So I really felt like it was good. It helped connect. My kids really were very emotional during it. But towards the end, I just really didn't like it, guys. I felt like unnecessarily harsh. There was some cursing in there that I didn't like. There was some dating that wasn't my favorite. I don't know. It felt like too much. And it definitely, obviously, is not from our Christian perspective. Most of these books are not. But I don't know. It just didn't sit right with me. And we almost didn't finish it. But I decided it was better to just plow through it. We just kind of binge read it, but for the opposite reasons of The Wild Robot. Not because we were enjoying it, but because I felt like I didn't want to sit in it for too long. it wasn't good quality, but I felt like stopping it in the middle would leave my kids with a very much a lack of hope, I guess. So we just kind of binge read it to finish it and then had a lot of good discussions around it. Ultimately, I would give it like a 1 out of 5 stars. I really, really wanted to like it, and I just did not at all. And I highly recommend skipping it. I love the movie. I would recommend the movie 100%. I think that one was really good in showing all the emotions and everything, but it was just so much darker than the movie, I felt like, and just showed some unnecessary details that didn't need to be shown. So that's all we've got for today. I hope you'll check out the playlist down below, see what other mamas are loving and what they're not liking as much this year, and be sure to check out my video on how to start doing read alouds with your kids over here, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.